Part 164. Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1631. Fu Bao repays her by bringing her tea and water, and even pulls Beizu along with her. Beizu has always been close to the Lu family. Although the child is young, she is very sensitive. She knows who is really good to her and who is not good to her. She often takes care of the triplets with Fu Bao. Yayan is like this, and so is Beizu. Beizu is so close to your family, and there is no smiling face in front of me. Wang Gejin's words had a sour taste in them. At this moment, Feng Qingxiu was chatting with some military wives in the courtyard while knitting sweaters, picking up shoe soles, and mending clothes. Yayan, Fuebao, and Beizu took the triplets and a group of children of all sizes to play tops, roll hoops, playing shuttlecock. In a daze, Feng Qingxiu felt as if she had returned to her hometown. When the weather was nice in the cold winter, everyone gathered together to bask in the sun. Talking and laughing, being lively and lively, completely unaffected by the wind and rain outside. The peaceful feeling of years was interrupted by Wang Gejin. Feng Qingxiu was a little unhappy, but she smiled on her face. You are her grandmother, you are good to her, how can she be bad to you? Wang Gejin couldn't help but choked. She knew how she treated Beizu, and the family members of the army who lived in the compound also knew it. After smiling, Wang Gejin said, there are many children in the family, and it makes my forehead hurt every day. It is difficult to cover everything. Their generation is happy enough. They were born to live in New China, with clothes to wear and food to eat. Unlike we were living in troubled times at that time, and we were terrified every day. We were afraid that the Japanese would attack us and that we would die. As soon as this topic came up, everyone started to remember the bitterness and sweetness, and lamented endlessly. Feng Qingxiu shuttled back and forth with the knitting needle in her hand, silently listening to a group of military family members older than herself mentioning past events. Because she had been too busy this year, she inevitably neglected the interpersonal interactions in the family compound, so she took this opportunity to get to know each other. Got a lot of things. Among the family members accompanying the army, Feng Qingxiu was more familiar with Peng Aiheng and Ding Min, whom she met after their children had a fight with Yayan. As time goes by and we come and go more often, we become more familiar with each other than others. Have you heard? Peng Aiheng said while picking up the solace of her shoes, Chief of Staff Wang's eldest daughter is coming. This morning, I heard from my old Joe that Chief of Staff Wang has sent someone to pick her up. These words were like a bomb being dropped, and everyone was talking one after another. Wang Xiaohua is coming? Didn't Chief of Staff Wang say 2 years ago that she would not be allowed to come for the rest of her life? Not coming? Can she come? How can her stepmother not be able to breathe without making her very upset? That's right. There will definitely be something good to watch when the time comes. Speaking of which, it's not easy for Xiaohua and her mother-in-law. It's Chief of Staff Wang who is not kind. He doesn't learn from good things and only learns from bad things. I'm sorry for Xiaohua and his wife. They can't hold their heads high in front of Xiaohua for the rest of their lives. Feng Qingxiu vaguely guessed that it was another drama about abandoning his wife. Wang Xiaohua should be the child of Chief of Staff Wang's ex-wife. As expected, she asked Peng Aiheng, and Peng Aiheng answered her immediately. Before the founding of the People's Republic of China, many people who marched and fought changed their wives. Some of them were unwilling to admit feudal arranged marriages and had the courage to pursue new ideas, so they divorced and remarried. Like Qi Gang and others before, some of them could not keep in touch with their original wives. If you haven't heard from your family for 3 years, you can remarry and have children under the arrangement of the army. Chief of Staff Wang falls into the latter category. Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1632. Chief of Staff Wang joined the army after getting married. He was unable to contact his family for several years. Under the arrangement of the army, he married Xie Hongmei, a young nurse who took good care of him at the time. After the founding of the People's Republic of China, he returned to his hometown in fine clothes. His first wife, Mrs. Li, had a daughter named Wang Xiaohua who was already 10 years old. In his hometown, his first wife was filial to his parents and raised his daughter, and he had a new love around him who could give him children. Moreover, compared to Li, a peasant woman with rough hands and a rough appearance, Xie Hongmei, a new era woman, is more literate and good-looking. Chief of Staff Wang decisively chose the latter and divorced his first wife. Because Xie Hongmei gave birth to a son for Chief of Staff Wang, the parents of the Wang family, who had been respected by their daughter-in-law for 10 years, immediately tilted their hearts towards Xie Hongmei and their two eldest grandsons. They were also proud that their new daughter-in-law had gone to school to learn medical skills, so not only did they not persuade Chief of Staff Wang to miss their old days, instead, he ordered Mr. Li and his son to get together and stay away from each other, and asked his father and fellow villagers to act as lobbyists. Finally, he shamelessly allowed Ms. Li to get divorced without leaving home. It was also a good idea of the couple not to leave home after getting divorced. They did not want to disturb their son's new life, and they were reluctant to handle the new daughter-in-law who had given birth to a boy for Lao Wang's family. Some people also left home for the reason of being low income, and they were afraid of the outside world, so the Li family it's different if you stay at home. Li has been working hard and without complaint since she came in. She can continue to wash, cook, and care for them until they die. It's like killing two birds with one stone. Mrs. Li was so humiliated that she couldn't think about it and hanged herself with a hemp rope in the Wang family hall. It is said that at that time, both eyes protruded and her tongue stuck out so long that she almost scared Xie Hongmei to death when she went home with Chief of Staff Wang to visit the elderly. Peng Ai-hung lamented, "Wang Xiaohua is a fiery person, so he touched her directly. The knife came out and chopped Xie Hongmei, and now there are deep scars on her face, so you haven't seen Xie Hongmei for a year since she came, she doesn't like to go out." Feng Qingxiu felt a hint of appreciation in her heart. "Well done, this is what you should do." However, on the surface she was very surprised and said, "So powerful?" Chief of Staff Wang also allowed Wang Xiaohua to come over. It's not allowed. Wang Xiaohua has been following Chief of Staff Wang since her mother passed away. She will follow Chief of Staff Wang wherever he goes. If she doesn't let her, she will directly threaten to fight them until death. The worst is to kill someone to pay for it. So Chief of Staff Wang Shi and Xie Hongmei were both frightened. They also had two sons. Because of their violent temper, Xiaohua was not married now in her 30s. "No, I heard that she was dating someone and was planning to get married, so she took her son-in-law with her." Come to see Chief of Staff Wang, it seems that the son-in-law's rank is not low. It's not a marriage with a reserve fund. "It seems like I've already been married and just went through the motions," Ding Min corrected Peng Ai-hung. "If I guessed correctly, Wang Xiaohua must have come to ask her father for a dowry." Feng Qingxiu didn't take it to heart at first, she wasn't that nosy. Unexpectedly, in the evening, Wan Xingguo came to visit with his wife. His wife's name happened to be Wang Xiaohua. Ever since Chen Chen cheated on his wife, Wan Xingguo has been unable to get out of the shadow of that time. The army later introduced him to several partners but failed. He didn't hear any news about his marriage until he was discharged from the army. He never expected that after he was discharged from the army, he would find her. One's own good match. "Sister-in-law, my wife Xiaohua's surname is Wang." Wan Xingguo introduced her with a smile on her face. Although his temples are gray and there are wrinkles on his face, as well as the weather and frost left by years of being stationed at the border, he is in high spirits, and it is obvious that he likes his wife. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1633. Wang Xiaohua is a typical strong northern woman, tall, with a big frame, honey-colored skin, thick eyebrows and big eyes, and full of heroic spirit. Ugly, not beautiful either. He has an ordinary appearance, which can be called upright. He is about 34 or 5 years old, with a weathered look on his brows and corners of his eyes. However, Wang Xiaohua's temperament was very forthright, and she greeted Lu Zhang and Feng Qingxiu gracefully. Feng Qingxiu was stunned and quickly entertained them warmly. They never expected that one of the protagonists of the topic of discussion during the day would actually be an old comrade of the couple. After some pleasantries, Lu Zhang and Feng Qingxiu learned that Wan Xingguo and Wang Xiaohua had met after Wan Xingguo transferred to another place, and it was Wan Xingguo who helped her fight off some gangsters who were looking for trouble. We became familiar with each other from time to time on the same street. They were both very young. One was divorced and the other was unmarried. After being matched by someone, they became revolutionary comrades. Wang Xiaohua distributed the gifts she brought, such as cans of candies and cakes, to several children, and said with a smile, "I was the one chasing him." He didn't plan to get married at first, and planned to die alone. Feng Qingxiu was happy. Although it was the first time they met, she liked Wang Xiaohua's character. There is actually no difference between a man chasing a woman and a woman chasing a man. As long as they don't destroy other people's families, they will eventually be happy. Lao Wan didn't want to, so what did you do next? Feng Qingxiu was very curious. Wang Xiaohua felt that Feng Qingxiu was not like some people who were afraid of avoiding her. She was very happy and her attitude was very affectionate. She smiled and said, "Isn't there a saying that a man chases a woman across mountains, and a woman chases a man through a veil? Let's break this. Isn't it okay to wear a veil?" Later I also found out about his previous marriage, and I felt that his ex-wife was blind to gold and jade. I told him that it was not his fault, so why should he punish himself by living alone? The wrong person does not repent, but the innocent person blames himself. There is no such truth in the world. Feng Qingxiu nodded, "You are right, we have told Lao Wan before, but he just can't think about it." "Fortunately, I can't think about it," Wang Xiaohua said quickly. Feng Qingxiu was stunned, then burst into laughter. "No, if I had thought about it at that time, how would I have had the chance to meet you?" Wang Xiaohua also meant the same thing, and Wan Xingguo smiled helplessly. Seeing the fondness for Wang Xiaohua in Wan Xingguo's eyes, Lu Zhang was very pleased and patted his shoulder. "We can rest assured seeing you like this, and we will make up for your wedding gifts later." Wan Xingguo waved his hand hurriedly. "It's not easy for you to raise a group of children. What does it cost?" Wang Xiaohua also said no. "How can a little thought be said to be a waste of money? We have given gifts to others when they get married, how can we not give them to you?" Wait. Feng Qingxiu turned around and entered the bedroom. When she came out, she had an old cloth bag with blue floral background in her hand. Stuffed into Wang Xiaohua's hand, "Lu Zhang and I are in the army. We don't have to worry about food and clothing. The fabrics we bought with overseas remittance coupons were saved. They have children, but materials of this color are not suitable for making clothes for children. As for adults, they can just sew and mend old clothes. Wearing two new clothes will easily make people jealous." Wang Xiaohua was at a loss as she held the baggage and couldn't help but look at Wan Xingguo. Wan Xingguo knew Lu Zhang and Feng Qingxiu's generous character very well, so he accepted them as soon as his mind changed. "Thank you, sister-in-law." Wang Xiaohua was also very straightforward and not coy at all. Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1634. Although Feng Qingxiu already knew Wang Xiaohua's origin and family situation from the family members of the army, she still pretended not to know and asked Wan Xingguo how he found this place without saying hello in advance. "We came to see the old man. We didn't know until we came that the army chief was transferred here," Wang Xiaohua said. "Old man." Seeing the confusion on Feng Qingxiu's face, Wang Xiaohua shrugged, "That's Wang Erguzi, the chief of staff of your army." "Wang Erguzi," Lu Zhang and Feng Qingxiu said in unison. It turned out that Chief of Staff Wang's nickname was Erguzi. They only knew that Chief of Staff Wang's name was Wang Xianghong, with the red heart pointing toward the sun. Wang Xingguo said hurriedly, "That is Comrade Wang's nickname." "Of course we knew it was a nickname, but we didn't expect Comrade Xiaohua to be from the home of Chief of Staff Wang," Lu Zhang said with a smile, "so you have to go back to Chief of Staff Wang's home tonight." Wang Xiaohua said without hesitation, "Of course. My mother was forced to death by them. They wanted to get rid of me, but there was no way. Each of their children spent hundreds of dollars on their marriage. Now that I'm getting married, the old man has to pay for it." Wan Xingguo said helplessly, "My salary is not low, and I have a lot of savings. Your money didn't come from the strong wind, but you earned it with your blood and sweat. Just because we have money, we can't deny the money that the old man should pay. If we don't want it, it will only make Xie Hongmei easier." "Why should we make her easier? Why should we make it easier for the old man?" Wang Xiaohua gritted his teeth a little when he mentioned them. "I think that money is dirty. Donating it to the poor is a kind of kindness to them." Okay, I'll listen to you. Let's not give up." Wan Xingguo knew very well his wife's hatred for Chief of Staff Wang and his wife. Even after more than 20 years, she could not let go of the death of her biological mother. Lu Zhang and Feng Qingxiu didn't say anything. Regarding Chief of Staff Wang's past and the original regulations, they were unable to make any comments. Wang Xiaohua and Wan Xingguo didn't mean to elaborate. After chatting for a few words, they stood up and left. "You guys stay a few more days and come back to play tomorrow," Feng Qingxiu said as she and Lu Zhang sent them to the door. She preferred Wang Xiaohua's violence compared to the weakness of Wang Xiaohua's biological mother. Wang Xiaohua agreed immediately. She originally planned to stay for 10 days and a half. She acted arbitrarily, and Chief of Staff Wang and Xie Hongmei were not so comfortable. Especially Xie Hongmei, who couldn't help but touch the scar on the left side of her face from the end of her eyebrow. The cut made by the tip of the knife, more than 20 years later, she still remembers the intense pain. Not only was her face injured, Chief of Staff Wang was also stabbed in the body, bleeding like a river. Wang Xiaohua has a violent and vicious temper, is evil-minded and cruel, and has no respect for her elders. Xie Hongmei doesn't dare to offend her, and she still doesn't dare to offend her until now, for fear that she will take action if she doesn't agree with him. Chief of Staff Wang also had nothing to do with her. Even though he was injured at the time, he did not dare to pursue the case because the two sons were in her hands, which meant that she had her lifeline in her hands. As soon as she heard the footsteps, Xie Hongmei hurriedly hid in her room without daring to show her face, leaving Chief of Staff Wang alone to face Wan Xingguo and Wang Xiaohua, who came in with the baggage. "Back," Chief of Staff Wang said calmly. Wan Xingguo treated him very well, but he was only 7 or 8 years younger than Chief of Staff Wang, so he was always called an old comrade. "I'm back, I just met Comrade Army Chief and sister-in-law Qingxiu." Wang Xiaohua's eyes were not eyes, her nose was not a nose, and she barely snorted. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1635. Chief of Staff Wang was accustomed to seeing his daughter like this. He knew that he was sorry for his ex-wife, but things had reached this point and were irreversible. Reaching out and pushing the pile of dough on the coffee table in their direction, Chief of Staff Wang said in a sullen voice, "I was not here when you got married, and now I will make up for your dowry." He understood his daughter's purpose. So, without waiting for her to say anything, he went to the bank and withdrew 1,000 yuan. Both sons have children at home, and life is tight. Not only does he have to support his wife, but he also has to subsidize his son, and occasionally he has to subsidize his fellow villagers and the families of martyrs. He can't save much money throughout the year, but he still has a few years ago. I saved this 1,000 yuan to avoid being unable to get it out when trouble comes and causing another turmoil. Wang Xiaohua took it in his hand unceremoniously and handed it to Wan Xingguo. Didn't sister-in-law Qingxiu mention that Han Pingping has a children's welfare home? Donate the money to the orphanage later to accumulate some goodwill. In front of Chief of Staff Wan Xingguo could only say, Xiaohua, don't do this. The money is yours, you can do with it whatever you want. Chief of Staff Wang stood up, it's getting late, you all should have a good rest. Back in the bedroom, he had to comfort his wife, who was 7 or 8 years younger than him. Wang Xiaohua lived up to her promise. The next day, she and Wan Xingguo sent 1,000 yuan to the local children's welfare home without leaving a penny for themselves, which greatly alleviated the welfare home's embarrassment. Since Dang Nianan was sent to the orphanage, Lu Zhang and Feng Qingxiu kept their promise and sent someone to give them 50 yuan every month. After excluding Dang Nianan's living expenses, the extra part was subsidized to other children in the orphanage. As a result, the Lu family's expenses have increased. Because she has to go abroad to attend a medical exchange meeting next year, Feng Qingxiu doesn't dare to spend money lavishly. Fortunately, her family doesn't have to make new clothes. She and Lu Zhang both have military uniforms issued by the army, and the children's old sweaters from last year were rewoven with added threads. Add some fabric to the cotton coat, take it apart and redo it, it is enough to cope with this year's autumn and winter. Except for the beauty-loving Fubao, the adults and children around them were all sewing and mending for 3 years, but the triplets didn't even think about wearing new clothes. This was probably the reason why the Lu family always had enough food and clothing. Feng Qingxiu breathed a sigh of relief and quickly handed her the sweater she had knitted for Beizhu. The sweater was too small, and other clothes would inevitably not fit. Lu Zhenqiu noticed this, so he directly spent money to prepare a pair of cotton-padded clothes and trousers for Beizhu, bought new shoes, and asked someone to change Beizhu's old clothes from last year to a larger size. Used for washing. Autumn has just arrived, and winter clothes must be prepared first. This is the case for every household, and the military family members are almost busy. Although Wang Xiaohua looks ordinary and has big hands and feet, she has good needlework. When she came to the Lu family to visit, she saw Feng Qingxiu preparing autumn and winter clothes for her children. She immediately helped, doing it faster and better than Feng Qingxiu, and even helped the bedding was dismantled, washed and remade, the core of the quilt was played again, and a pair of woolen socks and a pair of woolen shoes were crocheted for each of the children. Xiaohua, your hands are so skillful, I can't crochet. Crocheting requires crochet hooks, and Feng Qingxiu has never learned it. The wool thread used by Wang Xiaohua is brightly colored, and the crocheted shoes are very delicate and beautiful. Wang Xiaohua smiled and said, actually, it's the same as knitting. It's just made with a crochet hook. I'll teach you. Okay, the skills are overwhelming. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1636. Feng Qingxiu was a clever person. She learned to crochet shoes and socks from Wang Xiaohua, and also learned to crochet waistcoats and sweaters. She learned several patterns and colors. However, when she started her apprenticeship, Wan Xingguo said goodbye to Wang Xiaohua and left. They only took 20 days wedding leave and could not delay their departure. As they left, Chief of Staff Wang and Xie Hongmei breathed a sigh of relief, and the troops returned to calm. Feng Qingxiu immediately returned from leave, and work and study occupied all her time at the same time. More than half a month later, Lu's father and Zibao arrived as promised. Cheng Baoqiu and his wife accompanied them, and brought Guan Yu and Zhou with them. Wedding news. Guan Yu and Zhou, Feng Qingxiu said in surprise. It was both expected and unexpected, but I just felt that getting married was a bit too hasty. Father Lu nodded and said, you haven't seen Zhou for several years. You don't know that this girl is no longer what she used to be. Maybe it's because our brigade has simple folk customs and strict management in all aspects, which gives her a great sense of security, so she is now more generous, not as pitiful as when she first came, and tears come at every turn. The environment has a great influence on the character. Feng Qingxiu didn't find it strange. People will always grow up as time goes by. Sister Zhou is good looking. Sister Zhou is very kind to me. She also sews clothes and makes shoes for me. Zibao, who has grown into a handsome young man, said with a smile, but brother Au is very stupid and cannot beat Zhou. Sister, he often comes to discuss with her. Is he looking for trouble? Feng Qingxiu lowered her head and asked, does brother Au often go to see sister Zhou? Yeah. I saw brother Au secretly buying brown sugar for sister Zhou to make ginger tea with. Zibao proudly betrayed the private relationship between Guan Yu and Zhou, but brother Au is a bit stupider. It doesn't matter, sister Zhou is very smart. Once someone wronged brother Au for doing something bad, it was sister Zhou who helped solve the problem. Father Lu said, Au is straightforward and rough, but he is often short-minded, so he is a perfect match for Zhou. Zhou is scheming but also smart and kind. Even Akan also agrees with this marriage. Guan Yu and Zhou were in love, the elders and Guan Cheng agreed, and Lu Zhang and Feng Qingxiu naturally had no objection. Unconsciously, the educated youth who went to the mountains and countryside gradually took root in the countryside. They are unable to return to the city, and the only way to put down roots is to get married and settle in the place where they jumped in. They just don't know what these educated youths who have put down roots will choose when they return to the city a few years later. Feng Qingxiu sighed in her heart and said, Au is really not interesting, we haven't even made an offer yet. What Zhang Xiaoyu and Zhong Wengziu have, of course Zhou should also have. Wang Quilin covered her mouth and smiled, can this kid not be impatient? Zhou Chunluo is even more beautiful. She is juicy and pretty. She is the best among the batches of educated youth in our brigade. The young man who secretly stares at her is not in the minority. I heard from Zibao that someone asked your eldest sister-in-law to propose marriage to Zhou, so he hurriedly went to Zhou to confess. Zhou must also like Guan Yu, otherwise he wouldn't have agreed so straightforwardly. Although some people say that Zhou married Guan Yu because of the Lu family's status, Zhou didn't care at all about their private slander. If she really wanted to follow the dragon and the phoenix, wouldn't it be good to marry Lu Tianzi? He is an orthodox descendant of the Lu family and Lu Jiang's nephew. I feel so uncomfortable that I want to die. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1637. Only when a man and a woman fall in love do they get married. Having a purpose in mind is not love, and the family formed will not last long. Not only the Lu family thinks so, but Zhou also thinks so. She married Guan Yu because she liked Guan Yu. Guan Yu made her feel at ease and gave him a sense of security that even the living environment of the Wanglu Brigade could not give him. Therefore, a simple wedding without 3 turns and 36 legs still brought her 100% satisfaction and happiness, and her already beautiful face seemed to be covered with a layer of radiance. From the moment Zhou agreed to get married to the moment they got married, Guan Yu almost laughed out loud. It turns out that having a wife feels so good. We sleep together, wake up together, do housework together, wash and cook together, and feel that the wind around us carries the fragrance of honey. TNZ, Zbao below is still young. It will take at least 10 years for him to get married, not to mention Fubao and the triplets. So among the four of us, you are the only one who is single. Someone else will introduce you to a wife. When the time comes, don't be so picky and make a decision quickly, so that grandpa and uncle and aunt can rest assured, Guan Yu said to Lu Tianzi when the three of them had dinner together. Lu Tianzi looked at his proud face and rolled his eyes. So you married Jojo because you are not picky. His voice was very long as a thread and continuous. Guan Yu felt pain in his foot and cried out, Jojo, why are you stepping on me? Am I your picky candidate? Is our marriage the result of you not being picky, Joshu? He said deliberately fiercely, looking at him sideways with an unhappy look on his face. However, she looks soft and delicate, and has a soft voice, but she is not fierce at all. Guan Yu reacted immediately and waved his hand quickly, no, I'm very selective. If I hadn't been selective, I wouldn't have met you. Jojo snorted, he answered quickly. Guan Yu glared at Lu Tianzi hatefully, okay, Lu Tianzi, you are harming me. Lu Tianzi held his rice bowl and ate pumpkin rice, and the old god said in a genuine voice, who told you to mind your own business? Each of you met your sweetheart, and you fell in love with each other. There was no family to stop you, and no outsiders to destroy it, so you lived like your uncle and aunt. It's just as happy and sweet, why should I not be picky? Don't do to others what you don't want others to do to you, brother. Aren't you the only bachelor? Guan Yu muttered, we have always been inseparable. Now that I have Jojo and have started a new life, I feel uncomfortable seeing you alone. That's not a casual thing. Influenced by his family, Lu Tianzi had his own persistence in his heart. Jojo interrupted, Brother Tianzi, don't listen to Ayu's nonsense. Your persistence is right. One day you will meet a lesbian with whom you are willing to stay together. A smile appeared on Lu Tianzi's face. He looked very similar to Guan Yu, but gave people a completely different feeling. Although he works in a scrapyard, Lu Tianzi has a more scholarly atmosphere and is polite. Lu Tianzi, who is soaking in books in the library, is carefree and has a straightforward and unrestrained nature. They all lived in the Lu family, but Lu Tianzi and Guan Yu went to work in the morning and came back at night, so Jojo was left alone during the day. It's cold, but there is a lot of work in the brigade. The higher UPS have issued a message that there is no leisure time in winter, so all the strong laborers are sent to dig rivers and canals. There are also some female-educated youths and lesbians with higher education levels who believe that women can hold up half the sky. They mainly ask to follow the labor, dig ditches in the water, and carry mud ashore. When building embankments, he regarded himself as a man. However, Jojo was not among them. He followed some old, weak, women and children to spread fertilizer into the fields. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1638. Yes, it is chemical fertilizer, not manure. The urea imported from Japan is as big as rabbit droppings. It is said that spreading it on crop fields can increase yields. It was a new thing, and it was a foreign thing. Even if the state publicized it, other brigades would not dare to use it. After Wang Zhenqiu consulted Lu Zhang, he immediately mobilized everyone to buy fertilizer. He brought several tractors back, and all the money in the account was spent. 8. Unfortunately, it was a little late when I bought it, as the wheat had already been sown. But it doesn't matter. Spreading chemical fertilizer on the ground now is still effective. It's the same as manure, but you can't spread it too much. The purchased chemical fertilizers were not enough to spread all over the fields, so Wang Zhenqiu selected some areas and spread the fertilizers, while others were still covered with manure. Then, he would know whether the fertilizers were useful by looking at the yields. Jojo carried a bamboo basket and sprinkled handfuls of urea into the ground evenly. The urea burns my hands a bit, but it's bearable. It's cloudy, and what's coming is either rain or snow. Everyone, please work harder. After spreading the fertilizer, it rains and snows, so that the fertilizer can seep into the ground and increase the yield of our crops. Wang Zhenqiu, getting stronger and stronger, shouted loudly along the edge of the field. When the people working in the fields heard this, they immediately speeded up their hands and feet. God is very kind to me. The fertilizer is almost finished and the drizzle starts to fall. The rain in winter is very cold, and it feels like being in an ice cave if you get soaked through. Wang Zhenqiu had always been kind to the female comrades in the brigade. He was worried that it would be bad for their health if they caught the cold, so he never arranged for the female comrades to dig rivers. He shouted, "There is only a little bit left. Everyone, hurry up, and then go home and drink the ginger tea. Don't leave it's freezing." A few minutes later, the fertilizer was spread and everyone ran straight home. "Jojo, come to my house and make a pot of ginger tea," Miao Fengqin greeted Jojo. "Thank you, Aunt." Jojo was not polite to her. He followed Miao Fengqin to their house with a bamboo hat on his head, and helped to make a fire to make ginger soup. When the ginger soup was finished, he also dried his slightly wet coat. Wang Zhenqiu came in from outside, picked up the ginger soup and drank it in one gulp, dispelling the chill from his body from the inside out. "Jojo, everyone is asking me for urea bags. Do you want to take some?" Jojo looked a little puzzled. "Are you asking for it to hold things?" "Yes, nylon bags are stronger. When I send things to my uncle and aunt later, I can use urea bags to put them in. It is much more convenient than sacks and better than cloth bags solid. Urea bags are also collective property. They are priced at 50 cents and anyone who wants them will pay them, with a symbolic deduction of some work points." When Jojo returned home, she washed the fertilizer bag clean inside and out, and put it on the clothesline in the side room. She thought everyone wanted a bag ready to hold things like hers, but she didn't know that urea pants would become popular in a few days. One pocket was transformed into a pair of trousers, with the word urea clearly printed on the buttocks, the word Japan on the front, and a percentage sandwiched between the crotch. Guan Yu took out the things sent by Feng Qingxiu and said with a smile, "Although many people in our brigade have a pair of urea pants, they are still worn by cotters outside, and ordinary people can't get urea pockets to make pants. In fact, the root cause of the formation of urea pants is that everyone is short of fabric to make clothes. The situation in their Wangla brigade is slightly better. Because they have Lu Zhang and Feng Qingxiu, the Lu family has never worried about food and clothing problems. However, many people outside do not have decent clothes to wear. Some people only have one set that they can wear when going out to meet people. Clothes were worn by whoever went out, and they took turns, which showed the scarcity of fabrics, so someone thought of urea pockets." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1639. Guan Yu and Jojo got married without even saying hello, and Feng Qingxiu had given them everything they wanted. Scarlet woolen cloth, other fabrics, new bedding, new pillow covers, towels, enamel basins and other daily necessities, as well as some local food that can be mailed, and a Shanghai brand watch for Jojo, which I plan to give to Guan when he talks about a partner in Zhongguan City, Lushan. Used jewelry box has not been sent yet because the mail needs to be inspected. He plans to ask Father Lu to deliver it to them later. There is no rush anyway. Reaching out to touch the soft woolen cloth and a pile of fabric, Jojo felt truly lucky when he thought of the urea pants everyone wore. They are really lucky that they don't have to worry about food and clothing. Although the rations they were given were enough to keep them from starving to death, they were protected by Lu Zhang and Feng Qingxiu. Father Lu and Zibao would leave for a few months every year. The saved rations and the old grain secretly hidden in the cellar allowed them to relax. Eat on your belly. Of course, they don't dare to let go without knowing what situation they will face in the future. Guan Yu saw Lu Tianzi opening the letter and put his head close to it. What did Aunt say? Let me see, let me see. Why are you anxious? You married Jojo without telling your aunt, and she was very angry. Lu Tianzi said this deliberately while raising his hand to prevent Guan Yu from seeing it. Both brothers got married after meeting their uncle and aunt with their girlfriends, except him. Guan Yu said without hesitation, Auntie loves me so she won't be angry. Show me quickly. The status of husband and wife is very important, and he is afraid that if he is late, someone else will get ahead of him. Father Lu didn't stop him, so Auntie wouldn't be angry. Standing on tiptoes, he snatched the letter into his hand. Guan Yu read it from beginning to end. As expected, he didn't see his aunt's dissatisfaction, which meant that his behavior of not saying hello to the wedding was a bit excessive and very unbehaved. Later, he told him to take Jojo with him. When you go to the capital, you can't marry someone else's daughter without telling them. Jojo has a bad relationship with her parents and has never been in contact. She has not received any news from her family for many years. However, there is still a grandmother who loves her still alive. Hong Zanjun is also very good to her. They should not hide their marriage from the two of them. Old people. Therefore, Guan Yu quickly took a month's wedding leave and took Jojo to the capital first and then to Wuchen. The educated youths who come to Wanglu Brigade have family leave every year. In this regard, Wang Zhenqiu is very considerate and does not withhold letters, money, food stamps and things sent to them from the educated youths' families like other brigade cadres, let alone willfully. The cadres who abused female educated youths were accustomed to arranging family leave in winter so as not to delay farm work in the fields. Hearing that Guan Yu and Jojo were returning to the capital to visit relatives, Zheng Huiwei rushed over anxiously. Jojo, help me bring something to my aunt, she is now teaching. Her job is easy and her work points are not low. She has no worries about food and clothing, but she has also saved some money and things. She is a person who repays kindness and revenge. Her aunt sends her something every year, so she naturally repays her aunt. As for parents and sisters Zhen Yuan, you can go wherever you need to go. Zhen Yuan can sign up her and her brother's names to participate in the movement to the mountains and countryside in order to keep herself in the city. Her parents condone her, and even condone her behavior of not allowing her aunt to send her brown sugar. Zheng Huiwei has no feelings for them. This is very similar to Jojo, who only thinks about Hong Zanjun and her grandma. Probably, birds of a feather really flock together. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1640. Following closely behind Zheng Huiwei was Xin Yushan, asking Guan Yu and Jojo to carry things for his brother and younger brother. Xin Yushan was particularly concerned about his elder brother and younger brother. Every year, he would send the saved food back to subsidize his brothers while ensuring that he could survive. His brother Xin Minchan also often sent him money and some food that was not available in the countryside but could be purchased in the capital. Things, brotherly love, make others envious. Wang Huan, who had framed Jojo before, didn't have the nerve to come over. The educated youth from other capitals, like Jojo, had to rely on money and things sent from home to survive. How could they send anything back? Therefore, they did not bother Guan Yu and Jojo. Next, Jojo made preparations for visiting relatives. She specially used the fabric sent by Feng Qingxiu to make new clothes for herself, Guan Yu and Lu Tianzi, which were jackets and trousers to cover the cotton clothes. In addition, she made herself a woolen coat, using that a piece of bright red wool. The sewing machine that Feng Qingxiu had when she got married has always been kept at home. In addition to being used by her family, her parents and fellow villagers also came to borrow it. With the help of a sewing machine, Jojo quickly made the clothes. She wanted to face Grandpa Hong and Grandma Hong in her best condition and tell them that she was living a good life. But on the way out, the two of them were still wearing their old clothes. Even if they were old clothes, they looked much better than the people they saw wearing urea pants. The wind is as cold as a knife, and 10 layers of unlined clothes are no more than a cotton coat, let alone pants made of nylon bags. Jojo cherishes his current life more and more, and is grateful to Lu Zhang and his wife. Arriving in the capital smoothly, I got off the bus and had a big bite of snow. Compared with Weihai City, the wind here is stronger, the snow is heavier, and the cold is biting. Guan Yu gathered Jojo's scarf and adjusted his hat. Put your hands in your sleeves and don't stick them out. I'll just hold the luggage. I'm wearing gloves. You can't stretch it out, it's so cold today. They did not go directly to Hong Zanjun's home, but rested at the guest house for the night. They wore new clothes and knocked on the Hong family's door early the next morning, carrying prepared gifts. Jojo hadn't been back for several years. She had grown up and looked radiant. No one recognized her, and she didn't meet anyone she knew. Hong Zanjun was getting older and had poor eyesight. It took him a long time to recognize Jojo. Hey, the little girl is back, the little girl is back, why didn't you say hello? Seeing Jojo wearing a red woolen coat standing in the snow, slim and fair, like a red plum, Hong Zanjun suddenly smiled from ear to ear, and at the same time noticed Guan Yu. Who is this kid? Jojo, is he your date? Jojo hummed, Grandpa, this is my revolutionary comrade Guan Yu, Zibao's brother. Hong Zanjun clasped his hands and laughed, okay, the Lu family is a good family. They are inherited from top to bottom. The elderly and children are all kind-hearted. Jojo, you are lucky. You are lucky to be in such a family. You and I Grandma can rest assured. He was particularly kind to Guan Yu, letting him into the room, then turning around and pouring tea. Guan Yu quickly said, Grandpa, don't do this, I will do it myself. Hong Zanjun didn't argue with him. Over the years, Lu Zhang and his wife sent him food and clothing every year. Feng Qingxiu often came to visit when he was studying in the capital. No matter how much he refused, it was useless. He naturally felt very kind to the Lu family. There was a jingle at that time, big cotters, small cotters, 1 pair of nylon pants for each person. Japan in the front, urea in the back, percentage in the trousers. Wear black, wear blue, there are no members.